Alright, ladies and gentlemen, so we're going to go ahead and work on 5.3, where we're going to be substituting variables into equations, and then we're going to make a table from the values that we receive, and then what we're going to do is we're going to graph them on a coordinate plane. Alright, so that's the sequence that we're going to work through in this lesson. So we're first going to open up with something that we actually did in Chapter 1, where what we were doing was substituting values for our variables into expressions and then evaluating them. So we're going to actually, for each of these problems, there's going to be 3 different numbers that we plug in. So the first one we're going to plug in as 1, then we're going to plug in 2 for x, and then we're going to plug in 3. Okay, so we kind of have 3 different individual problems. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and write down my expression. I'm actually going to write it down 3 times for the fact that we have 3 different variables to plug in, or values to plug in. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and plug in 1 first. So when I write this out, the substitution step I like to call it, we're going to plug, and I'm going to replace our variable with an open parenthesis, right? I'll fill in my value in a second. Alright, so our first one is we're going to plug in x equals 1 here. So I'm going to go ahead and plug in 1 inside the parentheses. Now this means to multiply, and that's going to come, in PEMDAS, it's going to come before addition. So I multiply this together to get 2 plus 3, and that would equal 5. So when x equaled 1, our result was 5. Here, if we plug in x equals 2, I'll leave that on the bottom here, x equals 2, we replace x with 2. This would be 4 plus 3, which equals 7. Okay, and then here, when x equaled 3, we end up with 6 plus 3, which is 9. Okay, so in this expression, when we plugged in 1 for x, we got 5, 2 for x, we got 7, and 3 for x, we got 9. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and work on these 2 as well. Here we just have 2 values each to plug in. So again, the expression is negative 2y minus 4. Always write your expression first. Negative 2y minus 4. So I'm first going to plug in 0 for y. Negative 2. So negative 2 times 0 minus 4. So once again, we multiply first. 0 times negative 2 is 0 minus 4. 0 minus 4 is negative 4. Alright, and then over here, we'll plug in negative 3. Negative 2 times negative 3. We have negative times negative, which will be positive. This equals 6 minus 4, which comes out to 2. Alright. Next up, we have x squared plus 2 with the value of 3 for x as well as negative 3 for x. So x squared plus 2, and we have, so I've copied everything down, right, except for the x I replaced with parentheses. So I'm going to input my 3. This is saying 3 squared, which is 3 times 3. 3 times 3. So this comes out to be 9 plus 2, which equals 11. And then over here, we'll do the same thing, x squared plus 2. This time, inside my parentheses, I'm going to put negative 3. So what this means negative 3 times negative 3. So negative 3 times negative 3, that is still a positive 9. Plus 2, which is 11. So take note, our result here when we plugged in a 3 and then when we plugged in a negative 3, both resulted in 11, and that was because we did 3 times 3. That's what 3 squared is, and then negative 3 squared is negative 3 times negative 3, still comes out to be a positive. So that is what we're working on in Chapter 1, all right, when we were evaluating. Now, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be plugging the values into an equation with 2 variables instead of just an expression. So right here, this is an example, y equals 2x plus 3. This is an equation. Notice the equal sign, right? This is actually the same exact thing as what we had up here. This one was an expression. This new one is an equation, right, where we have a y value. So in this case, you're going to plug in values for x, and then you're going to record your result that you get for y. So for example, when we plugged in x equals 1 into this first one, okay, we got a result of 5. So in this problem, when you plug in x equals 1, you find that y equals 5, because 2 times 1 plus 3, that comes out to 5. So y is left as 5. So we can write this as an ordered pair of 1, 5. So when mathematicians plug in multiple x values and record their y values, they make a table of values, all right, right here. This collects all of their coordinates in one place. So, for example, let's go ahead and do this same one. Y equals 2x plus 3. We're going to do it for 2. Okay, so if I plugged in 2 for x, I'm going to write everything down exactly as it is, except now I'm going to put in a 2 for my x value. So I bring my y down. This becomes 2 times 2, which is 4, plus 3, and so therefore we're left with y equals 7. So as we see, when I plugged in a 2 for my x value, okay, what you end up getting was the result, or the y value, also known as the output, was 7. So I'm going to write that down here for my y value. So the result was an ordered pair of 2, 7. As we know, that ordered pairs are an x value, a y value, right? So the x value is 2, and the y value is 7. You might be thinking, oh, well, we can go ahead and graph this ordered pair, and that's what we're going to be getting to on our next step. Let's go ahead and plug in 3. Actually, you know what? Rather than doing this all over again, we can actually look up here. Since this is something we already did, for 2x plus 3, we plugged in a 3, and we got a 9. So this would come out as a 9, and the ordered pair would be 3, 9. Okay, so this lesson we're going to be plugging in specific x values to get their corresponding y values, and then we're going to record them in a table, and then we're going to graph these corresponding ordered pairs, or resulting ordered pairs. If we turn the page over, you're going to see a bunch of tables. All right. So what we're going to be doing is looking at the equation listed at the top of the table. We're going to plug in the given 3x values, all right, and showing our work. Write down the corresponding y value, and then tell what the ordered pair is for that resulting x and y value. Okay. So let's go ahead and we'll do it for this first one, and I'll probably pick one other one on this page before going to the next page. So they already did the first one when they plugged in 1 for x. The result was -1. So let's go ahead and try it now if we plugged in 2. So again, I'm going to rewrite my equation. And now this time when I write it, I am going to leave out the x as just parentheses where I can plug in a 2. Okay. So if I look at this, I have to, on the right, the left side's already good. It's just a y. I can even write down y equals a couple times because there's nothing to do on the left, just what we have to do on the right. So we have a -3 times 2. Since this is multiplication, we're going to do that first. So 2, this is going to be a negative times a positive is a negative, so -6. 2 minus 6 comes out to -4. So when we plugged in 2 for x, our y value is -4. The resulting ordered pair, again, is x, y. We have 2, -4. We'll do the same thing for 3. We end up with -9, so 2 minus 9, y equals -7. Okay. So here's our ordered pair here. So these are our 3 ordered pairs that we plugged in, or that we plugged in our x values for and got our y values out. I'll go ahead and do one more. Let's take a look at the second one. Yeah, this looks good. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and plug in -2, 0, and 2. I'm going to even write this down 3 different times because I know that I am going to plug in 3 different values. Okay, so my first one, I'm going to plug in -2. Okay, my next one, I'm going to plug in 0, and the next one, I'm going to plug in 2. Alright, so take note that I still wrote down the negative sign, right? It's only the x that's being replaced with parentheses, or our new x value. So in this case, we have a negative, if you think of this as -1, we actually do that for all 3, if there's no number listed there. So -1 times -2, which comes out to a +2. So that's our y value there. So therefore, our ordered pair that we can graph is -2, 2. Right here, -1 times 0 is just 0. So we've acquired another ordered pair that we can graph. And then we can go ahead and do this one. When we plugged in 2 for x, our y value was -2. Alright, so I want you guys to go ahead and work on the rest of this page and check the answer key that will be provided on Google Classroom.